Hello, it's Big Chads, and this is the Trading Encyclopedia Daily Education series on my YouTube at Chads Trading. You can find me on Twitter at Big Chads and Bitcoin Live, where I am a founding analyst. For today's lesson, we're going to talk about the idea of a falling window. It's kind of a fun term. What's a falling window? Windows shouldn't be falling, right? Well, it's a Japanese candlestick term. It really just means a gap down in Western TA, just a downward gap. And I'll show you some examples and we'll talk through it, but you can pause and read this on your own. This talks about the gap being resistance, and the context is really important. That's something we'll go into. But here's an image, an example of a gap, the gap down, and there's no shares transacted between the low of the session and the next open. Here's another image of a gap. Now this shows how the gap fills. A lot of times when you have a gap down like this, the price will come up and fill the gap before heading lower. This is like the concept of like a pullback or underside retest, where you have a support range. Like in crypto, we don't have gaps, but you often see a price breakdown and then a rally and then a retest before continuing lower. And it's kind of the same concept here with the falling window. Now, what's interesting, we have a couple examples. Let's show you an example right here. So when you have a falling window, the entire window itself is resistance, right? But specifically, the top part of the window is going to be resistance, right? The most resistance. So the entire thing itself is resistance, but really the top is where the line in the sand, it should reject there. If for example, you had an attempted head and shoulders here, right? Didn't work out. But if the price had been able to complete, this would have been a big level for it, right at the loss support and right at where the price did a gap down. Now, you want to think about where this comes in the trend. If you have a gap down, for example, a falling window after a move up, you might have, this is a breakdown gap, right? But it might also be part of something like an island top, gap up and gap down. And again, that's resistance. And this is resistance as well, right? The whole thing is resistance, really the top of the gap. This is not a good sign here, the gap down after a big move. The island top likely going to continue down much further. Again, so really it's just the idea of a falling window is just a gap down. We don't get them as much in crypto, but what's important to know is that it's going to be resistance, right? And you see here several price attempts to bounce back into the underside. You can even imagine that there wasn't just a gap, but there were shares there forming a resistance level, and the price is bouncing into, again, the underside of loss support. So here's just a basic overview in the concept of what a falling window is. It's just a gap down. All right, and this is for the Trading Encyclopedia Daily Education series on my YouTube, Chads Trading. Find me on Twitter at Big Chads and Bitcoin Live, where I'm a founding analyst. Folks, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Big Chads out.